الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار، أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Indeed, all praise belongs to Allah Azza wa Jal, da'iman wa abadan, at every point in our lives, always and forever. Praise belongs to Allah Azza wa Jal, the one who has guided us, the one who gives us tawfiq in everything in our life, the one who has decreed everything in our life. For indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only perfect being, is the only perfect being, the only one who is worthy of our worship subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with that, when we reflect on the perfection of Allah Azza wa Jal, we learn to love Him. The more we learn about Allah Azza wa Jal and His perfect religion and His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, our hearts yearn, our hearts grow in love for Allah Azza wa Jal, for His religion, and for His beloved Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When it comes to reflecting on ourselves and reflecting on our position right now in this dunya, one of the great pious predecessors of the past, Ibn Qudamah rahimahullah ta'ala, mentions about Ibrahim at-Taymi. Ibrahim at-Taymi, one of the greatest predecessors of the past that was Allah Azza wa Jal gave wisdom. And from one of the most beneficial stories, or from the beneficial stories from Ibrahim at-Taymi, he said that he was reflecting, that he imagined himself, he imagined his status in the next life. And first, he imagined himself in Jannah. He imagined, he thought, he supposed that he would be in Jannah, enjoying the fruits of Jannah, enjoying the ma'kulat wa mashrubat, the eatings and drinkings, the reward Allah Azza wa Jalla has for the believers. And then he asked himself, you're here. Allah Azza wa Jalla gave you tawfiq. He has rewarded you. He has given you the best of the best. And now I'm asking you, O soul, Ya nafsi, ماذا تريد? ماذا تشتهي? What do you want? What more can you ask for? What does your soul desire at this point now that you're in Jannah? And he said, all I wish for right now is to go back to the dunya and do that which brought me here. I want to come back to this wretched world. Why? To indulge in the dunya? No. He says, I want to be back into this world and obey Allah Azza wa Jal even more. I know what Allah Azza wa Jal has in store for me. The sweetness of ibadah in this dunya was so sweet that I want to go back to it. I want to come back to the dunya and only work for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And then he imagined himself on the other side. He supposed that he would be in Jahannam, wa'iyadu billah. He imagined himself in the fire of hell, being burnt and being punished for his misdeeds. Then he asked himself, Ya nafsi, ماذا تريد? ماذا تشتهي? What do you want? What does your soul desire now? And he said, I wish I was back in the dunya to do those things that I left off, to do those things and to rectify those deeds that caused me to be in this wretched place. So then he came back to himself in the current time and he told himself, Ya nafsi, you have what you want, regardless of what position you will be in the akhirah. You have your wish. You're in the dunya. You're in this worldly, wretched, lowly place. To do what? To make money? To have children? To build big skyscrapers that have the best jobs? No. You're back in the dunya to do a'mal salihah, to do righteous deeds, to do righteous actions, to obey Allah Azza wa Jal, to stay away from His prohibitions. You're here, you have what you wish. Fa'amal. So do. So perform. So do everything you can. Employ your limbs, your mind, your heart. Employ it fi sabilillah, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. When it comes to reflecting on the dunya, we learn many things. From that is the true status of the dunya, is the true station that the dunya has in our lives. For us to say and for us to think that the dunya has no place in our lives, that is not reality. Because we live in the dunya. Allah Azza wa Jal put us in the dunya. He spoke about the hayatul dunya. Even though dunya in the Arabic language literally translates to the lowly life, to the life that is below, that is inferior. But Allah Azza wa Jal still called it haya. He still called it a life. He still called it something for us to live in and to dwell in. So, either ends of the extreme, neither of it is good. To believe that the dunya has no value, has nothing, it means nothing, that is not the right approach. And to only work for the dunya, and to only work for us to gain worldly status and worldly possessions, that is also the improper approach. What is that which we should do? What is the Muslim's manhaj, lively system, lifestyle with the dunya? It is to use it for our benefit. To use it to that which will further us in the akhirah. We're in this dunya, we are only created to obey Allah Azza wa Jal. So, as we traverse our days, as the time of our life ticks down, because when one minute passes, you're not getting that minute back. When one day passes, it's gone. You're on a timer, each and every one of us. A minute goes, a day goes, part of us goes. So, employ your time. Use your time wisely. And use it in obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. How can we do this? What is a way that we can maximize our time? What are ways and things we can do to make sure, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we capitalize on this great opportunity that we have right here in front of us. أقول ما سمعتم وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. From those things that Islam speaks about at every facet of our lives, things that every Muslim will go through, that is present in the life of the Muslim, Islam speaks about it. And from those things is that of travel, safar. Allah Azza wa Jal, He acknowledges the weakness in us, and He acknowledges the issues and the problems that is in travel when we go to a place for His sake. We go to the place for any other permissible reason. But when we travel, we leave our city and we go somewhere else. What are the modes of travel that we know of? There are many ways. By foot, by car, by bus, by train, by airplane. Living here in New York City, we have a very special place. We have a unique opportunity that we are able, unlike other places in the world, that we have access to each and every one of these modes of transportation. Walillahi alhamd. And living in America, knowing the history of North America, we know that one of the greatest inventions was the railroad. That which made economy bustling because of the travel from one place to another in the greatest set of ease. And today, in 2024, do we know what the most prominent railroad, that which is commuted on in North America? That railroad that is active today and is the most busiest in the whole continent of North America, that is none other than the LIRR. That we can take it from Atlantic Avenue all the way to deep in Long Island. I'm not here to speak about transportation. I'm not here to speak about the ahkam al-safar. But all I want us to focus on today, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, is those four letters. L-I-R-R. And I don't want us to think of these letters and to reflect on these letters standing for Long Island Railroad. No. I want us to look at these four letters, to employ ourselves, and for us to have a manhaj in our life. L, standing for learning. When it comes to any act of worship, any deed, any action that we want to do in this life to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, before we can do any of it, one, we must learn about it. Any of us who came into Islam and we wanted to pray, what was the first thing we had to do? What was needed from us when our children are growing up and it's time for them to start praying? What do we have to do as we're raising them? We need to teach them the prayer. They need to learn how to pray. They need to learn how to fast. Anytime we get booked for an Umrah trip, what do? We go to the bookstore, we go on YouTube, and we find Umrah tutorial. How do I make Umrah? How do I make Hajj? Every time Ramadan comes around, the first week of Ramadan, what do? We Google search. Does this break my fast? Can I make my intention? So on and so forth. So that means before every action, before we do anything to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, we must first learn about it. Gain knowledge about that which we are going to do. Likewise, when it comes to any dunya matter, if I'm buying, selling, trading, going to work, anything that I do, I need to learn about the ruling. Before I can go and take this job, I need to ask the imam, do a Google search. Is it permissible for me to have this job? And if I am buying and selling, what kind of transactions are permissible for me? What things am I allowed to do? What kind of transactions am I not allowed to do? Whether it is a a'mal dunyawiyya or deeniyya, whether it's a religious matter or a worldly matter, we need to learn about it. And not only for us to differentiate between the halal and the haram, but also for us to be successful in it. For us to pray with the utmost khushu'. For us to get the most reward bi'idhnillahi ta'ala from our fasting. For us to gain the most money from our transactions, from the barakah of Allah Azza wa Jal. And for us to be well aware of whatever we're doing. So firstly, learn. Secondly, we need to, intend. Have the proper intention for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla alone. Prayer, fasting, hajj, umrah, any other act of worship, it is of no use. Zero. If anything, it hurts you even more if it is not sincerely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So make sure, before you do any action, before you employ the limbs Allah Azza wa Jal gave you, before you attach your heart to anything, before you think about doing anything, make sure it is for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Even if it's a worldly matter. Don't think, I just need to have the proper intention, I only have to be sincere when it comes to ibadah. Of course, when it comes to ibadah, your intention is even more important. But even when it comes to worldly affairs, when you go to school, when you're working, make sure you intend that whatever I'm doing in this dunya is sincerely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. When I'm going out to work for my family, I'm doing it because Allah Azza wa Jal commanded me to. When I go to school to further my status in the dunya, I'm doing it for the comfortability of my family in the future, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I'm doing it to learn about the khalq of Allah Azza wa Jal. Whatever it may be, make sure whatever you do, 24/7, 25/8, that you have the proper and sincere intention for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Even when it comes to sleeping, you going to sleep with the intention of waking up for Fajr, with the intention of having energy to focus on my Fajr, your whole 8 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours of sleep, it is ma'jur bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. You get rewarded for sleeping 25/8 bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Just with your intention, you will be able to gain rewards. As we say in the worldly affairs, when it comes to money, we have offshore accounts that builds up. We have in our sleep, in these little moments between the salah, in our breaks at work, we have our rewards and our deeds counting up, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Thirdly, the first R is to respond, to react. That which you learned about, that which you intend to do, react to it. Put it into motion. Act. I am not just going to, inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to read 4 pages of Quran every single day. And then the mushaf stays on the shelf and collects dust. No. Pick up the mushaf and start reading. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Tafaddal. Read. Get up and pray tahajjud. Whatever it may be. React. Put whatever you have, whatever you thought of, whatever you intended for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, put it into action bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Bismillah. Ista'in billah wa tafaddal. And lastly, the last R is to repeat. Do it over and over and over again until you hit that grave. Learn, intend, react, and then repeat. At every stage of your life, you should be at one of these 4 letters. I learned how to pray. I intend to pray for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and I pray. Then repeat. I learn about different salawat. I learn about the sunnah after and before the prayers. I learn about it. I intend to do it, and do it. And then repeat. I learn about tahajjud. I learn about getting up for qiyamul layl. I learn about it, I intend to do it, and I do it. And you do that throughout your life. There should be at no point in our lives, brothers and sisters in Islam, there should be no point in our lives that we're content with our level of a'mal al-salihah. Never. That is a trick of the shaitan. I pray my daily 5, and I pray my 12, 14, 10 sunnahs. I'm good, inshallah ta'ala. No, that's not the mentality of the Muslim. The Muslim is always yearning to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, to always elevate yourselves with Allah Azza wa Jal. And an important factor in this is to be patient with ourselves. To be patient with yourselves and to be patient with your learning. When it comes to learning about the salah and the intricacies of salah and the lughah that is in the salah, be patient with yourself. Don't say, I gotta learn this from 2 to 5. And then at 6 o'clock I gotta do it. No. Be patient with yourself. Take your time. Learn properly. Implement properly. Going through one coat of paint could take 6, 7 years to perfect your salah, to perfect your zakat, to perfect your sawm. It could take some time. So be patient with yourself when it comes to learning. Be patient with your soul when it comes to acting. And be patient with those around you when they subconsciously or consciously keep you away from the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Be patient. Because it will take time. And it will take a lot of effort as well. But with the help of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and with a sincere intention, Allah Azza wa Jalla will make it easy for all of us. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla make us successful in performing good deeds. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla make us truly sincere only for His sake. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to reward us for any sincere intentions we have that are not acted upon. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to forgive us for all of our shortcomings and sins and all of our faults. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to grant us in the Jannat al-Firdaus al-A'la and raise our ranks with Him. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to aid all the Muslims suffering around the world. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to aid all the Muslims who are suffering with depression and sadness and any other mental illness to relieve them of it. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal take revenge against any of the oppressors who are oppressing our Muslims all around the world. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make them patient. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give them victory. And I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to keep us all firm upon His religion and His dhikr. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم واتقوه يجعل لكم من أمركم مخرجا وأقيموا الصلاة